For life is a battle, it seems to me, that a man must fight to win. A son am I of the rolling plain, a Gaucho born and bred. For me, the whole great world is small. Believe me, my heart can hold it all. The snake strikes not at my passing foot. The sun burns not my head. An excerpt from Martin Fierro. Few people in the United States have ever heard about the Gaucho of Argentina, Uruguay, and southern Brazil. They've heard bits and pieces here and there, but honestly, this is a minimal understanding of this amazing culture. I would say the Gaucho is the national icon of South America. It all started in 1536 when the Spanish sailed to the New World and attempted to establish Buenos Aires. They came with cattle and horses that quickly advanced into the Pampas region of South America, exploding exponentially in numbers. Meanwhile, mining operations in Peru were hitting a peak, and so the cattle and horses of the Pampas region were driven to the mining operations in Peru by the Gaucho. The Spanish government in 1660 gave estancieros the permission to gather wild cattle and horses. This work was done by none other than the Gaucho, who often led a migratory life traveling rancho to rancho looking for work. This lifestyle is often called drifting in the United States. It was during this period of drifting that the word Gaucho was created. It means vagabond or drinker, depending on the translation. For almost 300 years, the Gaucho created their own image. But eventually, in 1806, the British attempted to invade South America, particularly Argentina. This set off the Argentinian War of Independence, in which the Gaucho would take center stage. The war ended in 1818 with the Gaucho victorious. Now, let's explore some of the regions.
Gaúcho são regiões da Argentina, do Uruguai e do Rio Grande do Sul, pertencente ao Brasil.
For the purpose of this video, we're going to focus on Patagonia and Rio Grande do Sul. So first up, we have Patagonia. Now, Patagonia is, I would call, the icon of Gaucho culture. They wear the berets, they wear the baggy pants, and their shoes are more like shoes, not like boots. They live in the southernmost tip of Argentina, where it is extremely cold. They also herd sheep and cattle, but their expertise is more or less on sheep. This is a very distinct cultural difference between them and Rio Grande do Sul. The Gaucho of Patagonia often lead isolated and solitary lives. For months out of the year, they are tasked with maintaining vast swaths of land by themselves or with a partner. They do this because Argentina, specifically Patagonia, is a massive piece of land that is relatively uninhabited. The only inhabitants, in fact, are the Gaucho and the vast herds of cattle and horses that they herd. This creates a very distinct culture within Argentina and a legendary horse culture. In fact, it is one of the most legendary horse cultures in the entire world, with large amounts of tourists visiting Patagonia every year to experience this unique culture. Now let's talk about Brazil's Rio Grande do Sul Gaucho. These Gaucho live in the Pampas region of Brazil. This is akin to the Plains regions in the United States. The Pampas region is also where the Gaucho earn their namesake of Gaucho. Now these Brazilian Gaucho, they wear wider hats and baggier pants than the Gauchos in Patagonia. And they're more likely to not be riding in colder weather And so their gear reflects that. You'll see them more often in lighter weight clothes. Now let's jump into the equipment of the Gaucho, starting with the boleadoras, otherwise known as the Bola. The Bola is made from 3 large stones that are then wrapped in rawhide and attached to a rawhide rope. The Gaucho would throw these at cattle, horses, and humans in order to trip them up. It was a substitute for the rope. Now let's talk about the Gaucho's knife, the 𝗟𝗡, and I apologize if I said that wrong. So the 𝗟𝗡 is a relatively long knife that goes into the bag of a Gaucho, into their belt buckle. And what it is a single serrated knife that is typically longer so that the Gaucho can use it for a multitude of purposes. It is almost like their all-purpose tool. The Gaucho use it to skin animals that they hunted, use it to sword fight with other Gaucho or their enemies. Here's a picture of a typical Gaucho get-up, generally in the Rio Grande do Sul, as you can tell, because the man does not have a beret. Now let's talk about the bota de potro. These are the Gaucho's boots. They're very different than the American cowboys' boots. As you can see, they ride all the way up, almost to their knees, and they're wrapped around with rawhide. Even the spurs are wrapped around their feet with rawhide straps. Next up, we have the Gaucho's belt, the rastra. It is more for decoration than for the typical utility that you would see in the United States. This is how Gaucho would demonstrate who they were as a person, almost like peacocking. And as you can tell, there's a lot of silver on these belts. Now let's talk about the Gaucho's chaps, known as the Tirador. So it goes over typically one leg, and they're made by Argentinian, Brazilian, and Uruguayan leather makers. And the reason why it only goes over one leg is relatively unknown to me. I was unable to find generally any information on that. So if you have the info, please let me know. Now let's talk about one of the most unique things about Gaucho culture, the Malambo. The Malambo was created in order for the Gaucho to woo women. They would perform their Malambos at peyadas, otherwise known as local parties. Now, let me show you a demonstration of the various types of Malambo dances. As you can see, the Malambo dances are very sophisticated. But that's all for now. Let's jump into some mate. So yerba mate is the drink of South America. It is made by taking the leaves of the mate plant and dumping boiling water on them, and then the Gaucho would drink them. They typically treat this like American cowboys treat coffee. They drink it a lot, and they need it for survival, more or less. Mate to the Gaucho is not a solitary drink. It is meant to be shared with other Gaucho or the people that they're with. This is how they keep their sense of community surrounding the mate. Mate is also known as Shimaro. This is the unification of people around a mate drink. This keeps the Gaucho tradition alive every day for the Gaucho.
Well, it does look like you know what. Yerba mate does not make you high in that sense. But yerba mate does give you a buzz, unlike any drink you've probably ever had. Like tea and coffee, yerba mate also contains caffeine. But not only that, it also has 2 other stimulants, theobromine and 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧. These two compounds are said to be responsible for the relaxing and euphoric effects that yerba mate has. So combine that with the energy boost from the caffeine, and you get a natural mind and body buzz you won't find with coffee, black tea, or even green tea.
The Gaucho of Uruguay, Argentina, and Brazil went into decline in the 19th century. This is similar to the American cowboys' decline, and the reason why they declined has pretty much to do with the fencing of the Pampas region. You see, when fencing happens, the great cowboy cultures tend to go into decline because they no longer can migrate, and the Gaucho is no exception to this rule. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed learning about the Gauchos. I understand that this is just more or less an overview. There is an infinite minutia of detail that I could get into in these videos. My intent is just to get you interested. So, go and do your own research now. Go learn about the traditional historic Gauchos.
Ahora en la calle, claro, algunos, cualquiera se viste de gaucho. Al final, no sé, pues si en vez de un montón de caballo, uno no...
Para la gente de afuera, el gaucho es ese, el que anda de a caballo. Pero para nosotros que estamos aquí, el gaucho es la persona buena. Hay personas de muy buen corazón que a lo mejor están solos en un puesto, no sé, 3, 4 meses, que no hablan con nadie, se acostumbran a vivir una vida más solo. Pero son gente buena, hay gente buena, gente que tú llegas a su casa y te atiende, te da todo lo que tiene.
Hoje nós não temos muito pouco gaúcho. O gaúcho monta cavalo num dia de desfile, num dia de tradição, mas é para laçar. Isso aí não são os gaúchos autênticos.